The Silent Centuries. The celebration stretched across 3 solar systems. For 200 years, the Vraxian Empire had marked this day with monuments, parades, and grand speeches that echoed through their crystalline cities. They called it Victory Day, the anniversary of their greatest triumph, the complete subjugation of Earth and the elimination of humanity as a galactic threat. High Regent Zarkoth stood on the observation deck of the Imperial Citadel, gazing at the holographic display that showed Earth rotating slowly in the darkness of space. The planet looked peaceful now, its blue oceans and green continents monitored by a network of Vraxian satellites. To anyone watching, it appeared to be nothing more than a beautiful graveyard, a monument to a species that had fought fiercely but ultimately fell to superior force. The Vraxian had every reason to be proud. 2 centuries ago, their armada had descended upon Earth with overwhelming power. The humans had resisted for 3 years, demonstrating remarkable creativity and stubborn determination. Their weapons were primitive, but effective, their tactics unpredictable and often brilliant. But in the end, numbers and technology had prevailed. The human governments had surrendered, their military forces disbanded, their populations scattered to the winds. Or so the official records claimed. Commander Talara entered the observation deck, her silver uniform gleaming under the soft lights. She carried a data tablet, her expression troubled in a way that made Zarkoth's chest tighten with unease. "High Regent, we have a situation," she said, her voice carefully neutral. Zarkoth turned from the hologram, his 4 eyes narrowing. "What kind of situation?" "Our monitoring stations around Earth have detected unusual energy signatures, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean and under several mountain ranges. The patterns are consistent with advanced technology, not natural geological activity." The High Regent felt a chill run through his chitinous frame. "That's impossible! We sterilized their major cities. We dismantled their infrastructure. We tracked every human survivor to designated relocation zones." Talara hesitated before responding. "That's what our records indicate, sir. But 3 of our scout teams sent to investigate these anomalies have failed to report back. Complete communication blackout." Zarkoth's claws clicked against the railing. In 200 years of occupation, they had never lost contact with a scout team on Earth. The planet was supposed to be pacified, broken, conquered. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a vast underwater facility that no Vraxian scanner had ever detected, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the central command center of what humanity called Haven 1. Around her, hundreds of technicians worked at stations that pulsed with soft blue light, monitoring systems that had been running silently for 2 centuries. Elena was 63 years old, but she had only been 5 when the Vraxian invaded. She had grown up in these hidden depths, learning the truth that the surface world would never know. Humanity had not been defeated. They had made a choice. The surrender was carefully orchestrated by the brightest minds of Earth's final free government. While the Vraxians celebrated their victory and established their occupation, humanity had gone underground and underwater, building cities in places their conquerors would never think to look. They had taken their best scientists, engineers, and soldiers into hiding, along with genetic samples, cultural archives, and the technological blueprints for weapons that had never been used during the war. Weapons they were saving for when the time was right. "Dr. Vasquez, we have confirmation," a young technician named Sarah Chen announced. "All 3 Vraxian scout teams have been neutralized. Project Lazarus protocols were completely effective." Elena nodded slowly, feeling the weight of 200 years of preparation settling on her shoulders. Project Lazarus had been humanity's greatest secret, a microscopic organism engineered to lie dormant in Earth's soil and water, invisible to Vraxian scanners, waiting for the right trigger. When Vraxian soldiers ventured into designated zones, these organisms activated, disrupting their nervous systems and causing complete system failure within hours. It was a weapon of last resort, one that humanity had hoped never to use. But the Vraxian had become complacent, and complacency created opportunity. "How many facilities are ready for Operation Phoenix?" Elena asked. Sarah checked her display. "All 17 underwater cities are at full operational capacity. The lunar base reported ready status 6 hours ago. Mars colony just came online. We have approximately 400,000 personnel ready for deployment, and our fleet is assembled in the dark side staging area." Elena walked to the main view screen, which showed a live feed of Earth's surface from one of humanity's hidden satellites. Somewhere up there, the Vraxian were beginning to realize that something was terribly wrong. Soon, they would understand the magnitude of their mistake. "Send the activation codes to all facility commanders," Elena said quietly. "It's time to remind the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity." High Regent Zarkoth was in an emergency council meeting when the first reports came through. What started as concern about missing scout teams had rapidly escalated into full-blown crisis. The energy signatures beneath Earth's surface were not anomalies. They were cities, massive, technologically advanced cities that had somehow evaded detection for 2 centuries. "How is this possible?" Zarkoth roared, slamming his appendage against the council table. "We had orbital surveillance, we had ground sensors, we monitored every square kilometer of that planet." An elderly counselor named Velshon spoke up, his voice trembling. "High Regent, there are ancient records from our initial conquest, reports that were classified and buried. Some of our commanders believed the human surrender came too easily, that their resistance ended too abruptly. They suspected a trap, but the evidence was inconclusive, and the victory was too politically valuable to question." Talara stepped forward with new data. "High Regent, we're detecting massive power buildups at multiple locations across Earth. Ocean depths, Arctic ice shelves, deep mountain caverns. The energy signatures match nothing in our databases, as if they've been developing technology completely independent of galactic standards." Zarkoth felt fear, genuine fear for the first time in his long military career. "Deploy the occupation fleet. I want full military lockdown of Earth immediately. No one leaves that planet and nothing launches into orbit." But even as he gave the order, he saw Talara's expression change, her eyes widening as she read incoming data. "Sir, it's too late. We're detecting launch signatures. Multiple vessels breaking Earth's atmosphere from underwater silos. They're already in orbit, and they're unlike anything we've ever seen." In the lunar staging area, Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance, humanity's flagship and the culmination of 200 years of hidden development. Around him, a fleet of 70 vessels hung in the darkness, their hulls coated with adaptive camouflage that bent light and sensor waves around them. To Vraxian scanners, they were invisible, ghosts waiting to become real. Marcus was 45, born in Haven 3, beneath the Antarctic ice. He had trained his entire life for this moment, studying the Vraxian military doctrine, learning their tactics, understanding their psychology. Humanity had spent 2 centuries as students, learning everything they could about their conquerors. Now, class was over, and the final exam had begun. "All vessels report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Vraxian occupation fleet is moving into defensive positions around Earth. They haven't detected us yet." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The Vraxian had grown soft in their victory, confident in their superiority. They had forgotten the most important lesson about humanity. Adaptation was their greatest weapon. While the Vraxian military had remained largely unchanged for a millennium, humanity had evolved, changed and improved with every passing year. "Begin Operation Phoenix," Marcus commanded. "Target their command vessels first. Disable, not destroy. We want prisoners, not martyrs. Show them that humanity remembers and humanity has learned." The bridge crew began their work with quiet efficiency. Across the fleet, weapons systems powered up. Quantum disruptors that could tear through Vraxian shields, electromagnetic pulse cannons that would fry their electronics, and the crown jewel of human innovation, adaptive AI that could predict and counter enemy tactics in real time. The Vraxian had defeated humanity with superior numbers and technology 200 years ago. But the humans they had conquered no longer existed. In their place stood something new.
The Reckoning. The Vraxian occupation fleet scrambled into defensive formations, but they were already 3 steps behind. High Regent Zarkov watched in horror from his command ship as vessels that shouldn't exist tore through his forces with precision that bordered on prescient. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating accuracy, and vanished before his gunners could acquire target locks. "Return fire, all batteries, maximum spread," Commander Tylara shouted, but her orders met with chaos. Half their targeting systems were offline, crippled by some kind of electromagnetic interference that their sensors couldn't even identify. The other half kept locking onto phantom signatures that disappeared the moment weapons were fired. On the bridge of the ESS Defiance, Admiral Marcus Chen watched the battle unfold with calm satisfaction. 2 centuries of preparation were paying dividends. Every Vraxian tactic, every formation, every response protocol had been studied, analyzed, and countered before the first shot was fired. "Their command ship is attempting to retreat to higher orbit," his tactical officer reported. "Should we pursue?" Marcus shook his head. "Let them run. I want Zarkov to see what's coming. Fear is a weapon too, and we've learned to wield it well." Below, on Earth's surface, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in Haven 1's command center as the facility began its transformation. Massive sections of the underwater city were reconfiguring, walls sliding back to reveal launch bays and weapons platforms that had been hidden for generations. Around the globe, 16 other facilities were doing the same, rising from ocean depths and mountain depths like ancient giants awakening from sleep. "All surface defense grids are online," Sarah Chen reported, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what was happening. "Atmospheric processors at full capacity. We're ready to begin environmental phase." Elena nodded, then opened a channel that would broadcast to every human facility across Earth, the Moon, and Mars. Her voice was calm, but carried the weight of 200 years of waiting. "This is Dr. Elena Vasquez to all personnel. Operation Phoenix is proceeding as planned. Our ancestors made a choice: to hide, to wait, to prepare. They trusted that their children and grandchildren would have the wisdom to know when the waiting was over. That time is now. Today, we don't just fight for Earth. We fight for every species the Vraxian Empire has conquered and broken. We fight to prove that surrender is not the same as defeat, and patience is not the same as weakness. Humanity rises today. Make them remember why they feared us." Across 17 cities, 400,000 people received her message. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, teachers, farmers, artists, every human who had lived in shadow for their entire lives. They had been born for this moment, trained for this purpose, and now they moved with unified determination. In orbit, the Vraxian fleet regrouped around High Regent Zarkov's flagship. They had lost 23 vessels in the initial engagement, with dozens more damaged. The human fleet had suffered no losses. 0. It was impossible, yet the tactical displays didn't lie. "Analysis," Zarkov demanded, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. Talara pulled up holographic data, her expression grim. "Their technology is beyond anything in our databases. Their ships use some kind of adaptive shielding that learns from incoming fire. The second time we hit the same vessel with the same weapon, it's completely ineffective. Their weapons bypass our shields entirely, targeting our ship's infrastructure directly. And their tactical coordination suggests AI integration far beyond our capabilities. How? Zarkoth slammed his mandible against his command throne. How did they develop this in secret? We monitored that planet for 200 years. An intelligence officer spoke up hesitantly. High Regent, we've been analyzing their vessel signatures. The technology isn't entirely new. It's based on theoretical research that human scientists were conducting before the invasion. Research we thought we had destroyed. It appears they took those theories underground and spent 2 centuries perfecting them. Zarkoth felt the foundations of his understanding crumbling. The Vraxian Empire had conquered 47 worlds over the past millennium. They were masters of occupation, experts at breaking the spirit of defeated species. How had they missed this? The answer came in the form of a transmission that cut through every communication channel on his flagship. The face that appeared on the view screen was human, male, with gray hair and eyes that held 2 centuries of accumulated determination. High Regent Zarkoth, I am Admiral Marcus Chen of the Earth Space Forces. I'm contacting you to offer terms. Zarkoth's mandibles clicked in fury. You dare speak of terms? You are rebels, criminals hiding in the darkness. We will crush you as we did before. Marcus smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Will you? Let me show you something. The transmission split into multiple feeds. Each showed a different Vraxian installation across the galaxy. Supply depots, communication relays, colonial outposts. As Zarkoth watched in growing horror, human vessels appeared at each location, not attacking, just hovering, waiting. We've spent 200 years learning everything about your empire, your supply lines, your communication networks, your colonial infrastructure. We know where every critical facility is located. We know which systems would collapse first if we applied pressure. We've infiltrated your data networks and understand your military capabilities better than your own generals do. Talara pulled up verification data, her hands trembling. Every location shown in the transmission was real. The human forces were already in position across a dozen systems. How did they move so many vessels without detection? But here's what you don't understand about humanity, Marcus continued. We didn't spend 200 years preparing for revenge. We spent it preparing for justice. Your empire has conquered dozens of species, broken their cultures, erased their histories. Earth was just one of many. But we're offering you something your empire has never offered anyone else. A choice. Zarkoth leaned forward, his compound eyes fixed on the screen. What choice? Withdraw from Earth immediately. Recognize our sovereignty, and release every conquered species currently under your control. Do this, and we'll let your empire survive. Refuse, and we'll dismantle it piece by piece. Not quickly, not mercifully. We'll use everything we've learned from you against you. We'll turn your own tactics into weapons. We'll make you understand what it means to be conquered by a patient enemy. The bridge fell silent. Every Vraxian officer present knew they were hearing something unprecedented. No conquered species had ever made such demands. No defeated race had ever risen again with such power. You're bluffing, Zarkoth said, but his voice lacked conviction. We're human. We don't bluff. We plan. Watch. On Earth, the environmental phase began. From 17 facilities, atmospheric processors activated, releasing carefully engineered compounds into the air. Within minutes, every Vraxian soldier on the planet felt their respiratory systems begin to fail. It wasn't lethal. Humanity had specifically designed it not to be, but it was incapacitating. Thousands of occupation troops collapsed, unable to breathe Earth's air that had suddenly become toxic to their biology. Medical teams are already en route to their positions. We'll stabilize them and hold them as prisoners. No casualties unless they force our hand. In orbit, Zarkoth watched his occupation force crumble without a single shot fired. The humans had weaponized the planet itself, turned Earth's atmosphere into a defensive system that targeted only Vraxian biology. The sophistication required for such technology was staggering. We need reinforcements, Talara said quietly. We need the home fleet. But Marcus was already speaking again.
I know what you're thinking, High Regent. Call for reinforcements, overwhelm us with numbers, but ask yourself this. If we spent 200 years preparing for this moment, do you really think we didn't plan for that? As if on cue, new data flooded the Vraxian command network. Reports from across the Empire. Human vessels appearing at strategic locations, not attacking, but positioning themselves to strike at critical infrastructure. Fuel depots, shipyards, communication hubs, food production facilities. Every vital artery of the Vraxian Empire had a human blade hovering over it. You can't possibly have that many ships, Zarkoth protested. We don't need that many. We just need to be in the right places at the right times. And we've had 200 years to figure out exactly where those places are. Every ship you see is real. Every threat is genuine. And if we force us to act, the Vraxian Empire won't end in a glorious battle. It will starve, slowly, as your supply lines collapse and your colonies go dark, one by one. Talara studied the tactical data, her analytical mind cutting through the emotion. She had spent her entire career studying military strategy, and what she was seeing was masterful. The humans hadn't built a larger fleet. They had built a smarter one, positioned with surgical precision to cause maximum disruption with minimal force. High Regent, she said quietly, they've outplayed us. Every move we make, they've already countered. If we call the home fleet, we leave our core systems vulnerable. If we attack their positions, we trigger cascading failures across our infrastructure. If we do nothing, we lose Earth and embolden every other conquered species to resist. There is no winning scenario here. Zarkoth felt the full weight of defeat